we are meeting in my working place, and I think I have a kind of special relationship to my working space because, it's just that it was hard to find this space, Uferstudios, and to build it up, and it's part of my life, and a quite long part of my life, around 10 years. I think the field is much more diverse, and also in what the claims are, it's a bit more diverse. But what is really, really different to the late 90s is the aesthetical discourse. Because on the one hand, I miss a bit that if you come together with artists, very soon the discussion about the conditions where you have to work is so strong that it's stronger than an exchange about your work, about the artistic work. For example, when Daniel, when we thought about to make a workshop called How Do We Work It, I think we both meant to exchange working methods in your artistic work. But it was totally clear after the first hour, we speak about the conditions everybody has to work in and how it influences. It's so overwhelming, and this is still going on. And in the end of 90s, there was mainly an aesthetic discussion between the artists, not the venues, but between the artists and also sometimes the production manager. It was about the art which is done. And it was in a way horrible at this time because it was this totally clash between conceptual work and dance work, and really you had like in a war, you had two fields. Mostly they didn't even look each other's performances, so the discourse was not on a very good quality, I would say. But it was there, and it was very strong. And I'm very happy that this discourse is not anymore, and that people are really, especially what I found in Uferstudios and with HCT, there's more atmosphere to look each other's work, and this I appreciate a lot. But at the same time, to talk about the artistic work is happening in a very, very private zone, and as always, if it's a bit more public or a bit more people involved, it's very quickly in the conditions of the work and not in the artwork. What I, in the moment, in terms of training political body, find as a real problem, people who engage in more as their own work engage really in a kind of political body. There's always an interruption because the conditions in Berlin are like this, that very few people can stay here and live here and work here at least 10 or 11 months of the year. It's always breaking down. You have this initiative for 4 months, and then core people of the initiative are away for residencies a long time, and it breaks down. Then it comes back. So it's this what people claim in their own work, that it's always interrupted, that there's really, really hard to build a continuation, that you work from project to project and you have this real gaps in between where you can't continue your research, is also happening in the political field. You start an initiative, you start even a kind of newspaper or a radio or whatever, or this monthly how do we work it meeting and so, but then it always stays weak because there's no continuity, because of course in each group, in each association you have core people who constantly are into the subject, but if they are leaving the city all the time, then there is a breakdown always. There things start, and they start one a year, they can start again, from different people. I think it has a lot to do with the history of GDR and West Germany and the change, because there are still gaps to fill and there's still free space. And there's a lot of changing also in the people coming and going. And so this keeps things much more alive and also keeps the illusion that, or sometimes it's not even an illusion, you find a new space. And this ongoing, I remember when we spoke with the Politik, when the Uferstudios was alive, and we had to fight against the idea of the Politik that now things are done. Now everybody has rehearsal space and everything is fine. And when we were fighting for new small spaces to survive, like for example Ada Studio at this time, or later Lakeside Studio also, they always say, but still this is a city where you can find also a small space and make something out of it. And of course it's always weak, but if one closes, the next is discovered. And this is not so easy possible in cities like Hamburg or Munich also, because you don't find these gaps and these empty spaces anymore. There are always coming new people in the city, what of course has to do something with the others. But these people, I think, and not only in the field of art, also in that a lot of migrants live in Berlin, and always these new people are more curious as the people who are settled down, and also these people find more interesting things where you cross and you didn't realize that there's something interesting. I think this is this makes Berlin quite special, but this is a gift which can end quite quick. Maybe two things. First, that politics start to understand that art is not only what is on stage. That's still a problem, that they only look at or judge an outcome of 1 hour, and it's hard with them to speak with them about art as a process. And second, I think what the city really, really needs is to allow more choreographers or more artists to work continuously. I always hear, for a lot of people, it would be better, instead of getting every 3 years one maybe good paid project, a more constantly base of part of income to can continue, and then to have a project money additionally to it. And also, if you speak about space, there is no space who, beside the project work, allows you to work. Even Uferstudios who would like to do this still are not at this point that we can offer space in the gaps of when somebody don't have project money. And that's my dream, to have here at least one studio where people can come and go, and also when they come back to the city and just find a place where they meet other choreographers, but also can work artistically, and not only a shared office, but a shared something, but where they can also use for movements. My dream about Uferstudios is first to have more of these possibilities, like shared office or shared rehearsal room, where continuation of work is possible, and also a gathering of choreographers beside the gathering for one performance, for one result. But additionally, I would like, and we are on a good way, I think, to find enough resources that we can link this space in another way with the surrounding, and to bring people together also from the non-arts field, with putting in the topics and making links with artists, because otherwise you get this artist bubble, and as soon as some kids from another background enter and disturb the art, the venue is collapsing. Yeah? We had this last year, you know. But this will not change with the security stuff or with closing the doors. This only can change if you really agree to the surrounding and say, okay, the global problems, they are also if you enter the door. No? And if you work about the global problems, some of you should maybe take the one who are in front of you when you open the door and get in touch with this. Let's say if we would have one studio, which is more or less available, if there is, let's say 5 or 10 choreographers for 2 weeks, just being together and just being curious and just exchanging. What would happen if this is a continuous possibility? Just to be in a kind of paid situation, so that you can make your living. 1 or 2 weeks together to get really a bit deeper in your artwork, in your living, and I think this would be one idea, to offer something like this, just a frame, a little bit money, that people just can stay 1 or 2, like it was in Village, and to exchange and to get to know each other a bit more deep than at the bar after one performance. That's, our communication is either at the bar in the end of a performance, or if you meet when you go maybe to an exhibition, maybe you meet somebody, maybe, but very rarely I give you. Or you meet in a project which is defined now, which has to have a quick result now. For example, for me, it's absurd, Uferstudios is a perfect place for communication, because 14 studios, multiplicated with the people working in, with the students as well, so different generation. Of course, it's a good base for communication. But the absurd situation is, in the time when people are in Uferstudios, they are concerned with their own project, because they come when they have money to do a project. So it's exactly the time when they are not too much open for others, because they have to push the work. And then, when it's finished and they would have time the next 2-3 weeks to be a bit more relaxed and a bit more curious for other works, they are not here. since I'm working in the field of dance, in the backstage, in the organizational part, it was, I think, two different spaces. It was the space where I started more accidentally. The Tanztage festival was in Pfefferberg, which was at this time, 97, kind of underground space. It was a concert space, and I, by purpose, was invited to make theater there, but I was not at this time so much interested in theater, and I didn't know anything about dance, and I was just curious about dance, and so started a series of dance performances, and later it was called a festival, and it moved when Pfefferberg got a renovation, or to be honest, 1 year earlier, because the dance audience was not drinking enough, so it gave a kind of conflict in the team of Pfefferberg, that there should be not so much dance because it's expanded, and Pfefferberg was very much depending on the gastro income, and the people in the music concerts was just drinking much more than the dance people. So I had really suddenly to move with one festival. I think it was 1999 or 2000, while the program was already made. I lost the space Pfefferberg and found a home in Sophiensäle and did their one edition, and they liked it, the team of Sophiensäle, and they said you can keep on doing it there, and then I even had a little office there. The concept was people who live in Berlin and are quite young. So it was more than nowadays. It was really about starters and people who came new to Berlin. This was the second, because there were also at this time quite a lot of people coming. Sometimes people who was already known in their country where they came from, but nobody knew about them here, and so it was kind of giving them a frame and stage to introduce them with one piece of work.
And also, there was no other festival before that would play this role, no? Of trying to.
No.
And
at this time, it was really hard to find for young choreographers. It was really hard to find a place to perform. There were the Tanzwerkstatt, which had mainly international choreographers, and then there was the Hallisches Ufer, who had more the already supported companies of Berlin, and I think the space for young people, but was Tanzfabrik, but they didn't have the concept to be especially for younger choreographers, so it was there a mixture, and and more or less at the same time, a little bit later, comes Doc 11, and then there was another space for a possibility to perform. It was an accident. I'm originally an electronic engineer, and was doing this job my 20 years or so. And I was linked with theater, but only with political theater, and only in my free time, and it was more, let's say, political action using some theater methods. And I was in Munich at this time, and linked with the daughter of Bertolt Brecht. and Bertolt Brecht is up to be used for political actions, and so it was only my free time, but then I had to quit my job because of health reason, and at this time, or let's say not in my profession but in my free time, I learned to organize, because we did one really very big action which was 3,000 kilometers through the whole country against the Chancellor candidate Franz Josef Strauss. And this was quite a lot of work, and also to find finances for it, and so. And there I learned it, and I do it. I like to do, or I just discovered I have a little bit skills to do this, and so when I stopped working in Siemens, I thought, let's go for theater. Maybe is there a part where I can continue organizing theater or whatever. It was not so totally clear. But then this accident came with Pfefferberg, and they got to know about me with the topic theater. And at this time I was when I was quite fresh in Berlin, and I was looking a lot of things in Volksbühne, but all the other theaters I didn't like so much, and also I had the feeling it was a bit boring, the field of theater. And this concert hall of Pfefferberg, I didn't feel like making drama theater there. It doesn't. And I through Marthaler and one girl in the company of Marthaler, I got introduced to a dance company from Costa Rica, and this was a very minimalistic work. But I really got into this TV. I liked, and I was just curious. And so, because the concert hall for me fits more to dance, and I was curious in dance, I just started. And it was not a free decision. It has to do with this problem that there was the need of production space, and even if I had the festival in Sophiensäle, I was very linked with the need of production space, because Tanztage had nearly no budget, and I survived in doing a kind of management for companies I felt in love during the Tanztage, and was with them making production, finding money for the new project, blah, blah, blah. And it was at this time a horror to find a rehearsal room for a price which is acceptable. And so in 2000 there was association was formed called ZDB. And I was in the board of this association. It was at this time quite a big association. We had more than 100 members. And it was not only dancers, it was also the venues were part of it, and production managers, and a lot of choreographers. And the first poster we made was asking for 1,000 square meter of production space. This was 2000, and nothing happened. We took the initiative to say we have to do another kind of pressure, because this claiming of association and this talking with politicians doesn't help enough. And then we forced the venues, because the venues have more voice than the full field of choreographers, to put their voice in. And it was a bit to do a practical thing. I proposed that everybody give 500 euros, that we put that somebody of us goes on a bike and search in a circle of 5 square meters and search for a building for a space, so that we have something concrete to fight for. And this we did.
And a person was biting through one
Karin,
person?
yeah.
Who was it?
Karin was free. She was a production manager for Joe Fabian and 2-3 other choreographers, and she was free at this time. And she went on the bike, and I collected from internet things, and so we worked closely together. And at the same time, this need of an education in Berlin was discussed more and more. So in a way, it was kind of 2 working groups, one with the topic of education and one with the topic of space. And then in end of 2004, we put it together in a concept and made this triangle concept of education, production and information, because we since a long time we realized that there was always this exhausting, you make additional work in the association, you put a lot of energy and you don't get paid for it, and after 5, 6, 7 years, depending of your personal capacity and energy and money, you give up, because you can't afford anymore so much work without being paid. And so we asked for having a kind of office which is for this big field of dance, because it was getting bigger and bigger, kind of information politic. And so these 3 points, education, production and information, was the concept. And this network we in between built additionally to the association, this network of venues to get a stronger voice, this Tanzraum network, was behind the concept and offered it to the Senate, and was having some introduction to this concept. And then nothing happened in the first time, but then there come another thing from the federal government, this Tanzplan, along. And then the city got more interest, because from this there were a chance. Every city in Germany was asked to make a concept for the dance field, and if there's a concept, then they can apply for 50% of the concept from this federal Tanzplan budget. And so it got interest of the city to have a concept. And then there was a moment in the history where the cultural senator it was after a talk which happened in House 3. He was standing with different people of the Tanzraum network. I remember Tanzwerkstatt, Doc 11 was there, and others, Mime Center. And the cultural senator then asked, but who is writing me the application for this Tanzplan? And I said, if you would have this office, then it would be no question who would write the application. And suddenly there were 90,000 euros for 1 year to employ 1.5 people. They had a kind of rest funding from somewhere, and they take it to have somebody who make the application and make the concept going. This was a nice situation, and at this point I didn't want to take this job because I wanted to continue as a production manager, because I like this really. Karin the one who was doing the search for the space with me together, she took the half position, and we made an advertisement for the full position. And somebody from Hanover, nobody from us knew her, applied, and she was so strong in the interview, and we thought, it's nice to have somebody out of the bubble, which is not coming from the venue family and blah, blah, blah. And she got the job, but after more or less 6 months, it was clear that it was also hard for somebody outside, because it has to go so quickly, and it was kind of complicated with the universities and this concept. So she gave up, and then I had to jump in, and so I was then in the years 2000, end of 2005, I think, until 2008, together with Karin, the Tanzbüro. And then I had to skip the festival and the production management. After a while, quite a lot of people knew about our search and about failing with the other. We already really had architectural plans for one space in Kreuzberg. We already invested money. We already got a support from the Lottery Foundation for the renovation, but we didn't succeed in getting a good enough contract with the owner. Then the city said no private place anymore, only a space which is owned by the city or the state. But the problem at this time was that the Liegenschaftsfonds, who was in charge of all these public spaces, didn't help us. They only, at this time, it changed now a bit, but at this time they only want to sell for a lot of money. We had one public space, the Moritzplatz, the Bechstein house. This we wanted to have, but they didn't give it to us. They want to sell it private. So people knew that we are searching and that we are in fact losing this lottery money, because the space, we lost the space where the money was meant for. And one let's say colleague, but not from the dance field, he's more from the fine arts field, was calling me and Karin and said, I just was in a space where fine art people are getting their ateliers. It's empty, it's from the public transportation company, but maybe you have a look to it if it fits for you. And then we had a look and we discovered this hall and it was amazing, because we went through so many buildings which always had after 5 meters a column, and there was 13 meters without any column. We were so happy. And then the problem was that it's a private, and we was not allowed to come again with a proposal of a private. But then we made a deal with the owner and get a really quickly a quite good renting contract, which fulfilled this because the lottery foundation always asks, if it's a private property, the private owner has to put the amount what the lottery gives to the Grundbuch, as a debt into his books. And the owner in Kreuzberg didn't do this, but he did it. And so we was on the good side, and then it goes quite quick. Then we started to use it already and started to plan the building process.